Hey, it's your pal Mike Shea from Sly Flourish here with a special episode of Sly Flourish's Lazy DM Prep. In today's episode, I am going to go over how to set up a one-shot Castle Ravenloft game. I'm calling it Ravenloft because it's actually a lot closer to the original I6 Ravenloft adventure than it is to Curse of Strahd. But we are using the adventure Curse of Strahd to build this. So we're going to go over a lot of that today, including some interesting changes that I'm making for my Halloween version of Ravenloft this year. This show, like all of the shows on Sly Flourish, are brought to you by the patrons of Sly Flourish. You too can become a patron of Sly Flourish by going to patreon.com/slyflourish and helping to support this show and all of the work of Sly Flourish. All of the support that comes from there helps pay for bandwidth and equipment and other infrastructure costs and all the things that it takes to keep Sly Flourish going. So thank you very much. If you're a patron, thank you very much. And if you'd like to be, you can visit me at patreon.com/slyflourish and become a patron as well. Ravenloft was originally written by Tracy Hickman and Laura Hickman, the two writers for Ravenloft, and it was designed as a single-session Halloween D&D game. And apparently the Hickmans ran it as a single-session Halloween D&D game every year for many, many years. So the actual framework of it fits exactly what we're trying to do now, which is running a fun D&D Halloween game. It's actually built that way. I bet you that when they ran Ravenloft as a Halloween adventure, that it probably took a long time. But I've got a couple of tricks for running this in a fixed amount of time, particularly about 5 hours. So it's not super short. Really, the gameplay is about 4 hours, and then an hour to kind of get everybody together, make sure everybody's at the table, because you're going to be using literally every minute of that 4 hours afterwards. All of this is based on an article that I did on Sly Flourish. This is an article I've had for 8 years now about how to run Ravenloft. This is even before Curse of Strahd. I had this article up, but it has changed since Curse of Strahd came out for how to run Ravenloft / Curse of Strahd in a single session. There's a few tricks to do it, but the main thing is that you have to really boil down and refine the adventure into one major plot, which is kill Strahd. And if you look at the original I6 Ravenloft, it has a bunch of different potential plots for Strahd, including like him taking over one of the characters and trying to escape, and trying to grab Irina, of course, and trying to take over the world. I think he had a bunch of different storylines. And you might have had different goals for that. But the reality is it's easier if you just boil things down to all of the characters are there to do one thing, which is kill Strahd. And Strahd's goal is really boiled down to one thing, which is convince Irina to stay with him. You really want to kind of boil the plot line down and get it into one thing. Now, a couple of other things that we do in order to boil everything down. And this was, I think that I got this idea from Jeff Greiner of the Tome Show, that you can actually start the session with them on the carriage riding to Castle Ravenloft. And on the carriage, they're given the fate, they're given their fortune, the fortunes of Ravenloft on the way in. So they're in the carriage. Madame Eva's in the carriage. She pulls out her Tarokka deck. She tells the story about what's going to happen and where. And then when she's done, the door opens and you're at the front door of Castle Ravenloft, and in you go. And that's to really like get people started. You don't have to go to the camp. You don't have to go wander through the woods. You don't have to do anything else. You're on your way to the castle. The whole adventure is taking place inside the castle. So that helps refine things pretty well too. Then there's a few other things that are sort of like session zero sort of ideas. One is that you can actually have one of the players play Irina. She can be any class that you want. She plays the role of Irina in the adventure. So it's sort of like she's taking it to Strahd herself. That can be kind of an interesting way to run it. And then you can, in order to kind of tie all the characters together, they all have a bond that connects them, which is by blood or deed, you and your companions are sworn to aid and protect Irina from the devil Strahd. That's your bond. It's the goal of every character. You're all wired in. There's none of this like, why the hell am I in this castle? I don't even like it here. By blood or by deed, your goal is to stop them, right? So in cases of one sessions like this, I think it helps a lot to have really strong refined goals for each of the characters that tie them to the story. Otherwise, you're bumming around a lot with like, I'm just here to steal loot, or I don't even like it here. I'm a noble from another place, right? You don't really want to deal with all that. It's a lot easier if it's like, look, you could have had any adventures you want in the past, but your goal now is however you got here to do this. Now, there's one other key for running Ravenloft, which is the Tarokka deck. So if we look at Curse of Strahd and we look at the fortunes, you look at the answers for these things. So you play out the 5 cards, right? And the 5 cards tell different things. Where's the Tome of Strahd? Where's the Holy Symbol? Where's the Sun Sword? Who is Strahd's enemy, and where is and what's Strahd's goal? In our case, we're going to draw 3 cards instead of 5, and the 3 cards are going to be where are the 3 objects. That's all we really care about. And we're again we're kind of refining things down. But the other thing that's important is we need to cut out the locations, because many of these cards go to places that aren't inside the castle, and we need to refine it down to those that are inside the castle. James Intercasso wrote a guide about running Curse of Strahd as a one-shot, and he went through the trouble of figuring out exactly which cards. So I have a copy, a deck of the Tarokka cards here. There's only 15 cards that you need in order to do the locations of the 3 items, and that's really all we're concerned about. Because we're only going to draw 3 cards. The 3 cards are where the items are. Again, refining everything down, getting it down to make it as easy as possible to do it. We have Strahd's invitation, and basically he invites him to dinner. He tells him the rules of the game. The rules of the game are, look, you know, in my castle, I know are 3 objects that might help you with your goal. When the time runs out, I'm going to come kill you wherever you are. And you set the time to be about 45 minutes before the end of the session. The goal is to find the 3 artifacts before you face Strahd. Nice and simple. And you set a timer, a real life timer that says from the time you actually begin, from the time you have that meeting with Strahd, you set a timer, and it says you've got, whatever it is at that point, 2 hours, you've got exactly 3 hours, probably about 3 hours. You have 3 hours to get through the castle and find the 3 items before I show up. And then I'm going to show up. And if you have all 3 items, you got a better chance of winning than you do if you don't. So that works really well. So those are the 3 items that we choose. And it's the Sun Sword, the Icon of Ravenloft, and the Tome of Strahd. Now the key, we're changing another thing with the Tome of Strahd, which is that the purpose of the tome is that if you burn the tome, Strahd won't regenerate in his coffin. He will be, if he's defeated in his physical form, he will be destroyed, as long as the tome is also destroyed. You don't then have to go down to his coffin and face all of the undead to face him down there. So this creates a situation where you sort of have a stalemate. So on the pure success, you recover the Tome of Strahd and burn it and kill Strahd, and he's gone forever. That's the true full success. A moderate success, or sort of a tie, is you managed to defeat Strahd in his physical form, but you didn't get the tome, so he will regenerate and the cycle will continue, but you are able to escape from Ravenloft. You're able to escape from Barovia. And then 3 is he kills you. There's 3 states, right? And that also means that if at the end he shows up, he fights the characters don't have the Tome of Strahd. They know that they can defeat him, but they know, but you won't be able to kill him. And what happens is at the end of the session, when they defeat him, the mist surrounds everybody, and then they wake up and they have returned to their homeworld and they see the sun in the sky. And they're like, oh, we made it. It's yeah, but Strahd's still there, right? And that's because you still want to end the game. You don't want to keep the game going for another couple hours while they then fight their way all the way down to Strahd's coffin and try to defeat him again. That's a pain in the ass. So we want to be able to end the game. The game is going to end one of 3 ways in that last scene. So one thing that I am doing this time around is I like to change things up a little bit. And one of the ways I want to change it up is by making a big switch. The idea is, if you think about Ravenloft and Barovia, it happens in a cycle. And there are a finite number of souls inside Ravenloft, inside Barovia, that are within the mists. And there are, as people die, for those who have a soul, many people in Barovia don't have a soul. For those that do, when they die, the soul is reincarnated in somebody else. So the interesting thought is, what if the way that the souls are changing from person to person, and the way that the cycles have been going continually, mean that the whole place is stuck in a giant 1,000-year version of Groundhog Day. So what if we say that in the last cycle, which occurred about 1,000 years ago, the characters failed and lost, which actually happened in my game, and the souls reincarnated. And in this case, Strahd won, and Strahd resurrected Irina as a vampire, and now she was his queen. And then what if she was always angry with him, and she ended up getting the upper hand? At some point, she became powerful enough that she gained the upper hand, and she took Strahd's power from him and became the new queen of Ravenloft, Irina von Zarovich, right? And she is now Strahd. And Strahd is this crazy, weak, terribly weakened broken down vampire who realizes, boy, did I make a terrible mistake. And meanwhile, Irina's soul went into a new person born, but all the souls kind of come back and the names sort of come back. And the name of the person is Sergei Kolyana. So instead of Irina Kolyana being the target of a vampire's drive, Sergei Kolyana is the target of the vampire's drive. And the vampire is Irina von Zarovich. So we're taking two roles and we're taking three roles and rotating them, right? The other role we're rotating is instead of Madame Eva, we have Strahd. So when they're in the cart, there is this cowled, cackling figure that is doing the fortunes for them. But the cowled, cackling figure is Strahd. And it pulls back and says, like, you have to end, if you're ever going to end this cycle we're stuck in, you have to defeat her for good and break the cycle, right? And then he kind of breaks down and turns into a skeleton full of ash as his body is continually sort of breaking down and flows in. And maybe he shows up elsewhere in the castle. We can do that if we want that. He's not really dead, but he's become this like decayed husk that she is just drawing the energy out of, probably because she's got so much control over the heart that's inside the tower. And that's really like a big source of his power. She figured out how to get that. So the characters then go in, they get their fortune told. They go into the castle, and that picture in the lower right is what they see. She's there instead of Strahd. And she says, here's the way it's going to work. I want Sergei to stay with me. She goes, I was betrayed by adventurers 1,000 years ago and given undeath as my punishment. And for 1,000 years, I have brought adventurers into this castle to punish them, to punish all of you for what happened to me. And I'm going to do it to you too. And here's how it's going to work. There are 3 objects in here that can potentially defeat me. You have to find the 3 objects. I'm coming for you as soon as this hourglass is done, and I'm going to kill you. Or you can give me Sergei right now. Sergei Kolyana is right there. Give Sergei to me right now, and I'll let the rest of you free. And if they say, sure, that sounds like a good deal, Sergei, go with her. Then she says, I knew it, right? I knew you guys were a bunch of weak, useless people. Now I'm really going to hunt you down and kill you all, right? Like that, you did exactly what happened to me 1,000 years ago. And now I'm even, you just proved my point to me, right? And now I'm going to hunt you down. So, and at that point, the game is afoot. Stat block wise, we use the same stat block for Strahd that we would use for Kolyana, that we would use for Irina, that we use for Strahd. Everything else goes the same. The rest of the adventure is the same. All the locations are the same, and that all works out. So that, I think, I've never done that before. I've never tried this idea before. We're going to see how it works, right? We're going to try it out today. I think it's cool. I think it's kind of a fun twist. I think my players will enjoy it. Oh, so we'll also talk about maps. Right, so we have Castle Ravenloft maps. I think I bought a couple of them. Yeah, so Castle Ravenloft Realistic Maps, it's called. And they are top view maps of Castle Ravenloft. And I will show some examples of these maps. So now let's get into the actual prep for my Ravenloft game. And I want to use the same steps that I use for all of my normal games. So characters, I don't know who the characters are. So I'm actually going to turn this into just a bullet list. And I'm going to, during the game, because part of the intro of the game, I'm going to ask them to talk about their characters, who they are and stuff like that. I do want to capture the fact that the group has this same bond, right? And it's going to be a slightly modified version of that bond. So that is our group bond. That is the thing that ties them together. Strong start is easy. Strahd gives the fortunes of Ravenloft 3 cards. Strahd gives the fortunes of Ravenloft 3 cards for 3 items, and I need to reinforce. So I want to reinforce the need for the Tome of Strahd. That essentially you have to get the Tome of Strahd and burn it if you want. That one's almost more critical than the other 2. You need to get the Tome of Strahd and burn it if you want to destroy Strahd truly, or else you only have a partial success. Scenes. So the way the scenes break down, starting off with the carriage ride. Carriage ride, fortunes of Ravenloft, dinner with Irina, game is afoot, Irina appears. Nice and straightforward. Very easy. Fantastic locations, I don't going to worry about those because they're all in the book. NPCs, I think, are also all in the book. Monsters are all in the book. So we got that going. Okay, so what secrets and clues do we have? Barovia is trapped. Continuing cycle of terror. Irina, Sergei, Strahd, and others have been the souls of Irina, Sergei, Strahd, and others have been reincarnated countless times. The tome of Strahd must be destroyed to destroy Irina herself. To destroy Irina and Strahd fully. Tome of Strahd must be destroyed to fully destroy Irina and Strahd. The holy font in the chapel can fully restore the living once each day. Strahd defeated a band of adventurers sworn to protect Irina and turned Irina into a vampire. Irina twisted Strahd's crystalline heart to her advantage and took power over Strahd. Irina hates all adventurers for failing to save her from Strahd 400 years ago. The cycle has happened thousands of times. Barovia seems permanently stuck in this perpetual cycle. Something from the outside resets the cycle every few hundred years. Most in Barovia have no souls at all. Only a handful of souls remain and are continually reincarnated in new bodies. I think that's pretty good, right? I mean, this is straightforward. The way we're handling this is so straightforward. It's fun secrets that we can drop in. And a lot of these, like, they could learn it from Irina, they could learn it from Strahd, they could learn it as they go through. But I think there's some fun things that we can sort of drop in here. So, so the prep for this game is very different, right? We don't know who the characters are yet. My players are going to bring them to the game. I know how it's going to start, and it's a very strong start. I know the general scenes, right? Which is kind of like the carriage ride, the fortunes of Ravenloft, dinner with Irina, game is afoot, Irina appears, and that's pretty much it. Game is afoot is, finding the 3 items. And that's the bulk of the game, right? That fourth point there is where all the time is going to get spent. Got a bunch of secrets to drop on them. I know what the treasure is, and I got my scratch pad. So, like, I'm pretty much ready to go, right? It's a fun, straightforward time. I really love running Ravenloft yearly as a Halloween game. And I think it's so thematically fun. Just, good old-fashioned Dracula-style vampire stuff is just fun. It's a fun tradition every year. It's interesting that it was originally designed this way, so it kind of works well this way. I think with these changes, I've now run it probably a good half dozen times with these changes, and I know they work. Curse of Strahd is my favorite D&D adventure, and I've been running Ravenloft now for years and years and years, and I love it. It's just a lot of fun. I like to put little twists on it. I hope that you found this video useful. I hope you have your own chance to run Ravenloft. And again, I want to thank everybody, and have a great day. So thank you very much.